Welcome, timekeepers. Thanks for stopping through. This is the Marita Minutes. For all that are new here, welcome. To all who have joined me on my journey, thank you and welcome to the Timekeeper crew. Today, we're going to talk about the Braxtons. This is season 2, episode 3, and I'm going to do it in a Marita Minute. So let's get started. Well, it picks up where it left off last episode. Now, remind you, there's a scene that the ladies keep coming back to, and they divulge a little bit more information each time we get to the scene. Last time, Tamar wanted to know who around that table gave that ninja her address, and I feel like she's talking about her brother. I don't know, but I'm speculating, and all of this is in my opinion, and everything is alleged. But is when she comes back on camera this time, or when they roll the footage back up, she's screaming and in her dramatic voice, "Who gave that man my address?" Tamar is so dramatic. She is so dramatic. Anyway, so she goes on to say, "I don't expect y'all to care about me." She said, "But I'm asking for my son. Basically, you all are trying to destroy my business. This is how I make my money. This is how I make my coin. This is how I provide for my child." In so many words, that's what she's saying. So even in this scene, they're cutting it up because the conversation is really not flowing right. And so they're not divulging everything I guess they need to divulge at the same time in a specific order, because it goes from that topic to talking about um coming to her house, and Tawanda says, "Do I know where you live?" She was like, "No, because you don't come." That didn't even make sense. You know what I'm saying? So they're breaking it up. They're still editing. That wasn't a good edit. And then she said, "But I know where you live." They made sure to put that in. She goes back to Tawanda, says, "But I know where you live because I gave you a down payment for your house. But you also been stealing from me for the last couple of years off my credit cards." I'm like, "Well, okay, I just gave you money for your down payment, and I find out you also stealing from me on my credit cards. This is crazy." So Tawanda doesn't blink an eye, didn't say, "No, that's not true. You are lying," whatever. She comes back at her as if she's telling a truth on Tamar and says, "Well, what do you steal?" Tamar's like, "What do I steal? Tell me what I steal." And she said, "Men." She said, "What man have I stole?" She was like, "Tony's." She was like, "What man have I stolen of Tony's?" So she named some man, and of course they blur her face so you can't see what she's saying, or you can't mouth who she's talking about. And she said, "You are a lie." She stood up and knocked over a drink towards Tawanda's way. Or what, I don't think it got on her, but she just, you know. And Tony's over here kind of like in the dark. I honestly feel like if Tony could, you know, transport somewhere else, she would, because her thing is, "I don't like these girls." I don't know, she didn't say that, but I get this vibe like if I could be anywhere else, it would not be here. And she's sitting there and she's like, "Well, I didn't get that link." I think that's what Tony looked like. She said, "I didn't get that link." And Tony's almost like always in the dark about stuff, because she's like looking at them as if they're telling her something new. And as I observe these past couple of episodes, I honestly see that Tony is not really in scenes with her sisters that often. This is the main scene because they're driving the whole season off of this one scene at this table, and they're just piecing it off bit by bit. But if you notice in all the other scenes that Tony is in, she's either by herself with her own crew doing something for her, she's on the phone with them, or she's in a scene with her mom. Now, in this particular episode, you see that they come together because there's an event that happens around Miss E. But other than that, she's doing this. She's in Vegas doing a show. She's got a concert coming up in Miami. She really don't have time for these girls. But the camera follows her for a split second. Her scenes ain't that long. But in order to, I guess, get a check, she's got to give them something. So I'm thinking she's giving them the bare minimum, and that's all they're getting. Anyway, so as they're hashing this out, and Tawanda's talking about everybody that Tamar has slept with or whatever, Tamar comes back. She says that's a lie because he said he slept with Tawanda. So obviously, both of y'all are talking to the same ninja, and hopefully, he didn't run through the sisters because it sounds like all of y'all are having conversations with him, whoever this person or people are. So as Tawanda calls herself airing out Tamar's dirt, you got Trina looking at Tawanda. Looking at Tamar like, yeah, now it's your turn. That's how she looked like she looking at her. Like, what you gonna do with that? And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this is so bad on so many levels. Like, y'all are supposed to be family. Now, Miss Evelyn is sitting somewhere looking at this like, my girls, my girls. Oh my gosh. Because she likes to keep everything hush hush. Their brother is somewhere looking like they not near one of them better say my name. Not near one. Because he's ready to invoke his cease and desist. Trust and believe. But anyway, so they're getting up and look like they about to beef. And then, of course, the scene cuts off. So I assume next episode we'll get a little bit more. But they are driving this whole season from this one scene. It's kind of clever, but very toxic at the same time. So in the next scene, you see Trina coming home to Vaughn. Because remember, in the last episode, Vaughn was letting her know that he was in urgent care somewhere, being diagnosed with congestive heart failure. So she flies home. He's sitting there and he's telling her that he felt bad, I guess, on the day that she left, but he didn't want to go to the hospital while she was still there because she would have never left to go to Jamaica. So he said while she probably was on the tarmac getting ready to board her plane, he was on his way to urgent care. And he basically said that he had fluid on his body and they had to drain it. He had fluid around his heart and I guess his lungs or whatever. And he said when he went in, he was 300 and some pounds, 309 pounds, I want to say, something like that. And when he left, he was 279 pounds. So they drained 30 pounds from him. And if he doesn't get it under control, it's not a good thing. And they're giving him 90 days to get it all together. Like they've given him 90 days to, I guess, correct his eating habits. He's got to take this medication and try to get this under control and managed. And so Trina's like, okay, well, we can, change our eating habits. Her thing is she's going to dive right in. She said, because I can't have nobody else leave me. Not right now. Not right now. Now, I guess with Trina, still reeling from her sister Tracy and ultimately Gabe, because Gabe a couple of years before, and then this is like another husband, like I can understand what that might do to her mental, but she's like, no, we're gonna get this together. And if they can't turn it around, I guess within 90 days, then they have to look at, I guess, options like surgery or whatever. I can add to this a little bit. My cousin went through this. We didn't know I'm not gonna say we didn't know. I didn't know what she was actually suffering from initially, but this kind of sheds a little bit more light on it. I know that every so often she had to go into the hospital and get a procedure done where they would have to drain water off of her. And she would blow up. The water would just, because I guess the kidneys don't work as well as they're supposed to work or whatever, right? That's what I'm thinking. And you would see her from time to time and she'd be real puffy and bloated. But I thought that was the steroid medication she was on. But no, evidently she was suffering from this. And when she would come out the hospital, she'd be so skinny and bony. Like, where's the weight? But they had to keep draining it. But you can't keep doing that because that's wear and tear on your heart. You can't keep draining stuff off. So anyway, that kind of little shed a little light, and I got a little sentimental because, rest in peace to my cousin. But yeah, that's what she was suffering with the last couple of years of her life. So anyway, I don't mean to take it to a dark place. So before we move on to the next thing, I think Vaughn did say the doctor told him if he had to taken or drank 2 or 3 beers and then laid down on it the night before, that night or whenever, he wouldn't have woke back up. That's how bad his condition was. So moving on to the next section, they, like I said, they give you a little blip of Tony. I think she's in the studio. She's practicing her choreography, trying to get some steps down. And then that lasts for like 10 seconds. Then she moves over to, I guess, her musician. And he says, this is going to be a good show. They're going to get a show. That was it. That was her. That was her piece in this. That was the Tony segment. Then they move on. The next section was, you see Tamar going to T.S. Madison's show called Outlaw or Outlaws. And it's her interview on her podcast. And, they talk about a little bit of everything. Actually, that interview is actually up on YouTube. So if you want to go over there and take a peek at it, take a peek. It was good. It was cool. She kind of touches on a little bit of everything with Tamar, but they don't show that. And of course, in this segment, they just basically focus on what aligns with the show. She talks about her villain era and all that kind of stuff. And when did she feel like she became the villain? And Tamar kind of lets everybody know that when people met me in the first segment of their reality TV career, that's when she was introduced as the villain. But I think she's done with that. She doesn't want to be the villain anymore. Then they go in and they talk about, tell me about what, Ashley, and, they just talk about different things. And like I said, it's a good interview. Take a look at it on YouTube. Shout out to T.S. Madison. The next segment is Tawanda, and she's going to try on her wedding dresses. And as they were coming in the door, you know how they put up who they are. Of course, Tawanda's name's at the bottom. But I noticed under Brooke's name, her daughter, she's got Tawanda and Sean's daughter. Okay, yeah, well, I guess if he's her stepfather, but we know who her father is. Did they forget we did see the Braxton family values? We know who her dad is, Andre. We know. He is the father of Braxton and Brooke. Did something change? Did we get a blood test? Like, what is this about? Like, I don't like when, and that's Tawanda doing that. That is Tawanda doing that all day. I don't like, stop it. Just say Tawanda's daughter. We understand that Sean is going to be your husband, but just say Tawanda's daughter, because that's what she is. That's who she is. Anyway, so she tries on these dresses. The guy comes out and he was like, what is the significance of this color? Like, why do you need to have lavender? Because his thing was, we might need more time to get the dress that you want and the color that you want. Her thing, the date is the date. It's the 22nd. I'm not moving it. His thing is like, okay. So she tries on this first dress. It's a complete flop. It's even Brooke, as weird as she dresses, looks at the dress is like, But I honestly believe that Tawanda put this dress on for comic relief because I know she thought that dress was hideous. But she came out, she was like, "What y'all think about it? Brooke, tell me what you think about it." And she's looking for them to say something, and they're like, but it was funny. Miss E was like, "Girl, go ahead. Like, go on. Go ahead. Don't play with us. We don't have it all day." And so, but then when she comes back out, she has on part of her dress, not all of it. Um, and it looks like it's gonna be pretty. I don't think it's actually in the color that she needs it in, but it looks like it's gonna be diamond like all over it with a little train and everything. So yeah. So she's getting excited and she looks happy or whatever. The only thing she does talk about, like she says she remembers everyone else getting married, all her other sisters getting married, and she was always there for them when it was time for them to get ready, and she doesn't have her sisters. She has Trina, and she says that each and every time she's in a scene with Trina, Trina's there, but she's talking about Tony and Tamar. So let's think about this. We understand why Tamar might not be dealing with her. But why isn't Tony there? Like, why does she make at least an effort to be there for her? And see if she still has the same conversation. Because I think she's not pointing out that Tony's not there. And maybe she is feeling some way that Tamar's not there too. I don't know. But I feel like it's more geared towards Tony. Her hostility is being geared towards Tamar. I don't know. I could be wrong. I might be just grasping at straws. I don't know. But so she was like, I wish that they could be here with me. Because she said, I was there for everybody else. Like, I wish I could have that moment. And of course, Tracy's not here to give her the support. And she feels like if Tracy were there, that she would have her support. I don't know. Because I remember a segment in the old Braxton Family Values that Tracy called her a snake. And she wasn't too fond of Sean. Take a listen.
What made y'all think it was okay to do what y'all did last night?
Hold on.
No, hold on. I'm getting right down to it. What made you think that was okay to do yesterday?
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Answer.
In your opinion, what was the problem with last night?
The problem last night is why would you have your boyfriend to say all that about us, how we need to get together, and you know the down dirty. You know I was adamant that I didn't want to do it.
Well, Tracy.
But it's no well Tracy.
It is a well Tracy.
It's not a well Tracy
It is,
because if you know your sister, I had no idea y'all was going to do it last night. Why would you do that or have your boyfriend do that last night?
Well,
about everything it's no but.
Okay, I'll let you finish.
Because, go ahead then, Tawana, since you want to antagonize somebody. So don't play with me.
Okay.
Because guess what? You know exactly what you're doing. Don't be looking like that, you snake ass son of a gun. Okay. You're a snake, and then you like controversy, and you like all of that.
Okay.
So why would you do that?
So how am I antagonizing you?
Really? He's a boyfriend. This is my husband.
Okay.
Been with him for 29 years.
Okay.
I don't know him from Jack from Jingle.
Just saying. I don't know if Tracy would have been there like she thinks she would have been there. I mean, it's nice to say that she's gone on to heaven, better place. She's no longer suffering. God bless and rest in peace, Tracy. But stop trying to rewrite history, Tawanda. I don't know if it would have been the way you thought. But anyway, let's move on. So the next segment is Vaughn and Trina, and they are going through their pantry, doing a cleaning out of food that neither one of them need to eat. And she's got all this food laid all over the counter, and she's basically saying she's going through the pantry, going through just to see what they can get rid of. And Vaughn comes out. He's like, "Wait a minute, what is all this?" And she says, "I'm cleaning out the pantry." And, because she says, "I found some substitutions for what we can eat, but we have to throw some things away." And he said, "Wait a minute. You're talking about throwing away food?" She said, "Well, we can give it to the boys." So she gives them a trash bag, and they're going through different stuff. And he said, "Wait a minute, what about them Girl Scout cookies?" And she was like, "Oh, I found them today at the store. I didn't mean to put them over here on the counter." And she says, "Oh, I didn't mean to put this over here either." So she's taking away stuff for herself to eat. But he's like, wait a minute. So evidently he gets these apple fritters or something shipped in from his favorite store in Louisiana, something like that. And she says, these got to go. And she knows she's not throwing them away, but she's teasing him with it. That's what it looked like. And he says, no, I'm dead ass. You're not getting rid of apple fritters. That's what it was, I think was. You're not getting rid of my apple fritters. He said, I just won't eat them all the time, but that is a no. We are not giving nothing to the boys. And so this was kind of a cute scene or whatever. But honestly, they are trying to get Vaughn back on track so he doesn't need to go to that other option, which is surgery to do whatever he needs to do for his valve or whatever, his valve in his heart. Next. Okay, so the next scene, they were preparing for Tony to have a business meeting. And as they were getting prepared, now, I kind of like their editing for this series because they kind of like break that fourth wall and you see the crew and behind the stage stuff and people setting up. They did it with Trina in her kitchen. And she's like, wait a minute, let me turn my phone off. And you see them setting up, the lighting and all that kind of stuff. I kind of like that a little bit, so it doesn't look too fake-ish or scripted, you know what I mean? But anyway, so they're setting up the scene for a business meeting and Tony gets a call. I guess there's something's going on with her mom and she has to fly out to Atlanta. So I don't know exactly where Tony is. I guess she's in LA. I don't know. But they arrive in Atlanta. They're in the emergency room or they're in their hospital. I don't know if they're in the emergency room. Anyway, come to find out, Miss Evelyn is in there. She's a little disoriented, but they put that wig on. They put that wig on and they put that lipstick on. Now, I don't know if this is before she had surgery or after she had surgery. I want to say it was after she had surgery because Tamar mentions like, why would she have red lipstick on in surgery or whatever? So they put that on before the cameras came in there because clearly she was out of it before the cameras came in. So they said. Anyway, they put that wig on her and they put her red lipstick on before they started filming because Miss E is like, y'all are not going to catch me down bad. Hello? Anyway, they said she was a little bit disoriented. She was looking around, wanted to know why the TV crew was in there. So I guess they call herself bringing her up to speed like, you're on a famous TV show, you got famous daughters, blah, 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 blah. And Miss E was like, well, who got the food? Because evidently she was hungry. Which was cute. This was a cute scene. And they would explain to her what was going on with her, that she has a blockage. Evidently, she already knew she had a blockage. I want to say as the scene goes on or the next scene comes on, she had already told her grandson Logan that she was having a procedure. But nobody knew but Logan. So evidently something might have went left, and then that's when they called her daughters to come in. So, but looks like she's on the other side, so she's doing well. So that was the end of that scene. After, I guess, Miss Evelyn is released, she goes to the home. You see her, the fourth wall is broken again. They're setting up. They're waiting for Twanda to call. Twanda calls her and lets her know that she's got her marriage license. She's healing really good, blah, 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 blah. And then from there, Tony comes comes to visit. She's on her way to Miami. There's a show down there, but she's, checking up on her mother's health. She wanted to get to see her mom and make sure she was doing good. And then after that, Trina and Tamar come in and they're all talking and trying to get Miss Evelyn to ask, why are you hiding this stuff? Why are you just telling Logan? And she said, if it wasn't for Logan Tamar says, if it wasn't for Logan coming into my room the night before, letting me know that you were having heart surgery or a procedure, we wouldn't have known anything about it. And she said, I didn't know that's what I was going to get done. She said, I thought it was, how I'm on the treadmill and they were like a stress test. She's like, yeah, because they didn't say it was surgery. They said it was a procedure. she said they weren't saying that. She said, well, well, yes, I went to the hospital. She said, well, what do people do when they go to the hospital? They get procedures done. She said, well, not all the time. She was like, she said she didn't know that's what she was going. She wasn't really trying to hide it, I don't guess. She just didn't understand what they were going to do, which also leads me to believe that you do need a second set of ears when you go, especially when you get of a certain age. You need, and I'm not saying that nobody's capable of following instructions or listening to what the doctor says, but sometimes a second set of ears, I need a second set of ears because you might hear something I don't hear, because you're concerned about your health and focus on one thing and totally miss a whole nother section where the other person might grasp what you didn't. So it's like always good to take someone with you so y'all can kind of act like and bounce things off each other, make sure you heard the same thing, especially when it's something on that level that you need to be aware of and everything that's going on around you. But so the next scene is when they're coming back to this sister scene. And you see Tawanda walking up to the venue. She gets there first. She orders her oysters and whatever. Then Trina comes in and sits down and talks with her and says, what are you eating? They all ask her what she's eating. And so after her, here comes Tony and Tamar. The tension is kind of thick when Tamar comes in. You can see that she's really hesitant about going over there. But as cordial as she is, and she's trying to make it cordial, she does go over there and she, gives her a little, they get through their pleasantries and then they all sit down. And so they start talking about the wedding. And Tony said she was a little confused about everyone being a maid of honor. She was like, she made everybody a maid of honor. She says, how can you make everybody, her sisters and her friends? How can everybody be us? And then that's how it went off. But as you know, going forward, that's not how it ends, because during the episode, they show bits and pieces of them breaking up altercations and stepping in between each other so they don't lay hands on one another. It's a real mess. Yeah. I'm going to review the rest of the season. I just have to get through this one scene. I need to hear what's going on. I need to break out the voices so I can hear what each person is saying, because they're talking over top of each other. It's kind of hard to hear. You have to play it over a couple of different times to even see what's going on or hear what's going on. But yeah, it's not yeah. Anyway, get down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Tell me what you think. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't already done so, please like the video. Subscribing is a free way to support the channel. Everyone be blessed. Peace.